Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump is expected to sign the Genius Act today, the first federal law to regulate digital currency tied to the U.S. dollar. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem today highlighting immigration crackdown actions to arrest what the department says are the worst of the worst criminal illegal immigrants. She says Americans are safer because of it. A federal judge today reconsiders his previous nationwide injunction on President Trump's birthright citizenship order. In two overnight votes, $9 billion in DOGE cuts approved in Congress, and House lawmakers barely passed a defense budget, with a handful of lawmakers crossing party lines. We have the updates. A Brazilian court orders former President Jair Bolsonaro to wear an ankle bracelet as police raid his home and his political headquarters. This comes less than a day after President Trump sent a letter to Bolsonaro.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. President Trump is set to sign the Genius Act this afternoon, which is a landmark bill that lays out the first federal rules for cryptocurrency. The Genius Act sets initial guardrails and consumer protections for stablecoins, which is a type of cryptocurrency that is tied to stable assets like the U.S. dollar. To reduce the volatility, that is. It passed both the House and Senate with wide bipartisan support. Trump posted about the bill's passing this morning, praising Republicans for what he called a major accomplishment. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says a deal with Japan is within the realm of possibility. Bessent met with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba today. Ishiba expressed optimism after meeting Bessent at his office in Tokyo. Bessent thanked the Japanese Prime Minister for his hospitality on X. He posted, quote, "A good deal is more important than a rushed deal." President Donald Trump has threatened a 25% tariff on Japanese imports beginning in August. For the first time in decades, Congress used a special process to claw back funding. In a late-night vote, House lawmakers approved $9 billion in DOGE cuts, sending it to President Trump's desk. NTD's Melina Weisskopf reports.
On this vote, the yeas are 216. The nays are 213. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Two Republicans joined all Democrats in opposition, barely pushing it over the finish line. The cuts apply to foreign aid and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which helps to fund news outlets like NPR and PBS.
This was directed to wasteful spending in the previous State Department, of course, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and a couple of other areas. We looked at that. We thought it was a waste of taxpayer funds, and we're taking care of business. So we'll continue to do that. We're going to downsize the scope of government. Government is too large. It does too many things, and it does almost nothing well.
The Speaker said this is the first of many such packages coming down the pike. The Trump administration has already indicated they'll send many more packages after the first one makes it through. In a separate vote early this morning, the House approved the president's $832 billion defense funding request for fiscal year 2026. 5 Democrats joined with support, while 3 Republicans opposed it. Here's one of the opposers.
I still think we need to cut some more, honestly.
While the Pentagon budget stays flat from last year, it comes after Republicans already approved $150 billion in their big budget bill for President Trump's defense priorities. The bill will now need to go to the Senate, where its fate is uncertain. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Secretary of Homeland Security Noem is in Nashville today, highlighting important immigration enforcement actions by the administration to keep Americans safe. At a press conference with posters of criminal illegal immigrants in the front and confiscated guns on the table, Noem says the department is arresting illegal immigrants that have committed horrendous crimes. Take a look.
2 Venezuelan nationals with ties to Tren de Aragua have been arrested here. This was done back in January, and their crimes include promoting prostitution and evading arrest. In February, HSI Nashville arrested a 35-year-old Venezuelan charged with homicide after he stabbed his own wife to death. In January, HSI Nashville here arrested a 22-year-old Guatemalan who was an illegal alien here in this country. The charges against this individual count 3 charges of child rape, sexual exploitation of a minor, and identity theft. Also arrested here is a 60-year-old illegal alien from Iraq. His criminal history includes convictions of rape, larceny, and false imprisonment. They're the worst of the worst. And America is safer because they're off of our streets, because of the work of the individuals behind me, but all of the agents and officials within HSI and ICE. In January,
Noam says the Nashville DHS office is at the forefront going after child exploitation rings, child trafficking and human trafficking rings, some of which have been using Nashville as a hub. Meanwhile, she criticized the mayor of Nashville for publicly releasing the names of immigration enforcement officers. The mayor's office later removed the information. Here's Secretary Noam.
Mayor Freddie O'Connell has gone after our ICE individuals and agents that work with HSI. He's openly doxed them, revealed their information to the public, encouraged people to work against them in their efforts to clean up the streets of Nashville, and he has forced his city officials, his employees of the city of Nashville, to document every single interaction that they have with federal immigration authorities. What the mayor is doing to the city is shameful, and what he needs to do is participate with us and make sure that he's helping us uphold the rule of law.
Noam also said out of the 300,000 criminal illegal immigrants arrested since President Trump took office, 70% of them have criminal charges they are convicted of or pending against them. A South LA woman is facing federal charges after allegedly faking her own kidnapping by ICE agents to raise money. Prosecutors say Yuriana Calderon, an illegal immigrant, claimed she was abducted by federal immigration agents. But investigators say video and phone records show it was all a hoax. Her family raised money online and planned a press conference, but Calderon was later found safe in Bakersfield. She's now in immigration custody, charged with conspiracy and making false statements. An immigration raid at a cannabis farm in Southern California has led to a criminal investigation and a manhunt for a suspected gunman. The FBI has released a photo of the man suspected of firing a gun at federal agents during protests in Camaro last week. NTD's Christina Corona has more on the story.
An immigration raid at a Ventura County cannabis farm has sparked a criminal investigation and a manhunt for a suspected gunman. The incident unfolded outside Glass House Farms on July 10th. News helicopters captured the moment a person in the crowd allegedly fired a gun at federal agents. Federal authorities are offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to the suspect's arrest and conviction. Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom is pushing back against the Trump administration's immigration enforcement actions, calling the National Guard deployment unnecessary and wasteful at a press conference on Wednesday.
5,000 military, 4,000 federalized with the National Guard, close to 1,000 U.S. Marines. He sent them to a United States city. The utilization rate of our National Guard, less than 5%. You spent hundreds of millions of dollars, wasted hundreds of millions of dollars on this.
Newsom says federal enforcement is hurting small businesses and stoking fear in immigrant communities, calling it political theater. The U.S. Department of Justice is requesting data from California sheriffs on all non-citizens held in county jails, including in Los Angeles and San Francisco counties. Officials argue the data request is necessary to help immigration agents identify and remove individuals who have committed serious crimes after entering the country illegally. They say while all illegal immigrants are in violation of federal law by definition, those who go on to commit violent offenses including rape, murder, and other felonies pose a heightened threat to public safety. Officials say the goal is to prioritize deportations of criminal illegal aliens and ensure public safety across the nation. Christina Corona, NTD News.
The Department of Agriculture says it has fired 70 foreign contract researchers. The firings follow a national security review to secure the U.S. food supply from adversaries, including China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins announced a farm security plan on July 8th. The plan includes efforts to bar purchases of U.S. farmland by foreign nationals from the 4 countries. Any existing research agreements with them would be terminated. Rollins said the moves were necessary to secure the U.S. food supply. A government union official said most of those dismissed were Chinese postdoctoral researchers on 2-year contracts with the agency. A federal judge in Massachusetts today is weighing whether to alter his nationwide injunction on President Trump's limitations to birthright citizenship. The hearing comes after the Supreme Court recently ruled that nationwide injunctions likely exceed judges' authority. The plaintiffs, 19 states, the District of Columbia, and 2 nonprofit organizations are arguing that the court's sweeping injunction was the correct ruling because it provides complete relief. The Supreme Court had ruled that the injunction should be overturned if it is broader than necessary to provide complete relief to each plaintiff with standing to sue. The government says the plaintiffs are missing the point of the Supreme Court's ruling, which is that a judge's ruling can benefit only the plaintiffs named in the lawsuit. The judge has taken the new arguments under advisement. Joining us now to discuss District Judge Leo Sorokin's decision on birthright citizenship is legal analyst Bobby Ann Cox, civil rights attorney and fellow, Brownstone Institute. Also joining us is civil and criminal defense attorney Dante Mills. He's the lead attorney and managing partner at Mills Legal. So first of all, good afternoon to you both. Again, thanks for joining us this week. Dante, I'll start with you. Do you think it is likely, or what are the implications if Judge Sorokin decides to uphold his nationwide injunction despite the Supreme Court's recent ruling?
What is going to put the Supreme Court's recent ruling to the test? They left it out. And most times in law, there are some exceptions that are built in. And the exception that the Supreme Court left here was for complete relief, was the phrase they used. So what this judge is going to have to decide is, do these states, because at this point there's about 19 different attorney generals from different states that's going to petition or join in with this petition for this judge and say that our citizens can be impacted as well. And if one state or one district decides that birthright citizenship is permissible or should remain permissible, then the government can go to just another jurisdiction and try to get relief. So the only way to get complete relief is if the decision impacts the entire nation. That's what the movements are arguing here, that the only way to make sure that these citizens, as they are now, don't lose their citizenship is if this ruling affects everybody or everywhere, every jurisdiction in the country. So the judge is going to have to decide if that's necessary or if it should be limited to one jurisdiction and one plaintiff alone. And then I think either way, the Supreme Court is going to have to weigh in to give explanation to what complete relief should and actually does mean.
Okay, Bobby Ann, what are your thoughts? Is it likely? How might Judge Sorokin justify maintaining nationwide block?
So I think here there is a really big problem with standing. If you look at who is bringing this lawsuit, as Dante mentioned, it's 19 attorneys general. So it's states, actual states are suing over President Trump's executive order regarding birthright citizenship. And technically, the states don't have standing to bring that argument. This is not a situation where the federal government is infringing on states' rights. The states don't have the right to determine citizenship or not. That is a federal question that is very specific in our federal constitution. So I think there is a tremendous problem here with standing in that the states don't have the right or have the ability to bring this kind of a lawsuit against the Trump administration. So I think that that is something that is going to have to play out in the higher courts, because obviously this specific trial court judge is not paying any attention to that very glaring fact.
Okay, Dante, do you have a response
Well, Bobby
to
Ann
that?
is right. Yeah, I think Bobby Ann is right. Absolutely. That there's a question about whether or not the states have the right, but there is an argument that the states do have a right to stand on behalf of their citizens. And that's what they're doing now. They're saying these people are citizens of our states and we're acting on their behalf, and we have the right to act on behalf of our citizens because we essentially represent them. The court is going to have to decide that, because I think there's a nuance there, whether or not they're challenging if birthright citizenship is appropriate that's a secondary question. But if we're talking about standing, I think there is an argument to be made that the states can represent their own citizens and speak on behalf or bring cases on their behalf.
Okay, Bobby Ann, on birthright citizenship itself, in his ruling in February, Judge Sorokin said that the Constitution confers birthright citizenship broadly, including persons within the categories described in the executive order, of course, referring to Trump's order. So does the 14th Amendment and the phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof include children to undocumented immigrants, in your view?
No, it would not. I mean, we have to look at what the founding fathers, the framers of the Constitution, were looking at. What was the situation at that day and that time, and what did they mean when they created this provision in our Constitution? It's ludicrous to think that they envisioned that people would sneak into our country or openly come into our country illegally, breaking our laws to get here, and then give birth to a child and then have the right for that child to become a citizen of our country. Or alternatively, that somebody would be here vacationing temporarily, or here on a temporary visa, perhaps a student visa or something like that, give birth to a child, and then that child automatically is a citizen of this country. I mean, it's just a ridiculous, position to take from a legal standpoint. Subject to the jurisdiction of our country means you live here, you are a citizen, or you are legally here. You are a permanent legal resident, you have a green card, and you're allowed to be in this country, and you have children. Yes, your children are citizens, but not if you came here illegally or if you're here very temporarily. It's not what the founding fathers envisioned.
Dante, what is your expert analysis on the ruling?
I disagree with that, and we can look at it in different ways. If we talk about the intent of the founding fathers, listen, they stated clearly, bring me you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry. They weren't in a position or have the belief that we should be trying to keep people out. That's just not who they were, because our founding fathers came here seeking that same kind of relief. So I doubt that they would take that position that we're better than someone else, and unless you meet these specific qualifications. If they wanted those qualifications to be in there, they could have, which in fact they did, amend or put language in there that makes a distinction. They didn't. They said subject to the jurisdiction. Everybody within our country is subject to the laws of our country. Whether you're here legally or not, if you break a law, you have to face trial or court or charges in our jurisdiction. So you are subject to the jurisdiction. How can we say that an illegal immigrant is here and charge them with the crime and say you have to show up to court? But then when it comes to them falling within our jurisdiction for birthright citizenship or something positive, say, oh, but it doesn't count for that. We don't have jurisdiction over you, or you aren't within our jurisdiction there. I think the language is plain. We can try to parse it out or make some kind of excuse if we want to take the stance that it should be harder to become a citizen. But the founding fathers made it clear. The language is clear. And I think we have to leave it there unless there's an amendment to the Constitution.
But Dante, you don't think the original meaning of the 14th Amendment refers to the full political allegiance of an individual and the jurisdiction of a foreign government has over that individual?
So that's one of the qualifications. We're not talking here. That order doesn't address people who aren't in allegiance to the United States. That order says that courts or the country should not validate the citizenship of people whose parents are not citizens, that were born here. That has nothing to do with the allegiance to the country. So if you want to make that separate distinction, if someone is determined to be a traitor to the nation or show some kind of non-allegiance to our country or some kind of threat to our country, there are procedures in place to remove those people. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, and that order specifically refers to individuals who were born here, who simply their parents are not citizens. There is no carve out in the amendment for that. There could have been if the founding fathers intended for that to be the case.
Okay, Bobby Ann, what do you say to the Supreme Court's 1898 ruling in United States v. Wong Kim Ark, in which it interpreted the 14th Amendment as recognizing the right to birthright citizenship regardless of the status of immigration of a baby's parents?
Yeah, well, the decision, you have to look at every decision as a snapshot in time. You have to look at every decision as what were the actual facts surrounding that decision. because it's very rare that facts are always the same when it goes from one plaintiff to another plaintiff or to a case in general. I do want to just say, to Dante's point, if the founding fathers wanted everybody that is born in this country, even if they're born to a tourist, even if they're born to a student who's here on a visa for short-term period, even if they're born to someone who snuck across our border and came in here illegally, then they would have made the language clear. They would have said every person in the United States of America who has a child, that child is now a citizen. But that's not what they said. They picked their language very carefully, and they said, subject to the jurisdiction. So if you're from a foreign country and you come here illegally, or you're here as a tourist, you live in a different country, you're a citizen of a different country, you're subject to your country's purview. And just because you're in our country as a tourist or as a temporary student or as an illegal immigrant, that doesn't mean that your child automatically gets citizenship. So we do have a difference of opinion on what that means.
Okay, Dante, just one more thought from you, and then I want to change gears a little bit.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll bounce back because I think this is a good conversation. But what's the response to the fact that our courts have jurisdiction over people who are here, whether they are here legally or not? We have jurisdiction to bring charges against people, to summon them to court. They are subject to our jurisdiction. So what's different, or what distinction is there that then in this particular case they wouldn't be?
Okay, I want to change gears now. Another issue I would like your guys' comments on is that the Trump administration asked an appeals court on July 14th to allow immigration operations to resume in Southern California. And that's after District Judge Frimpong issued a temporary restraining order last Friday. So Bobby Ann, the judge found that DHS was allegedly targeting individuals based on characteristics such as how they look. So my question to you is, how does the Fourth Amendment apply to immigration enforcement actions? To what extent can factors like, race, language, other things be used as part of establishing reasonable suspicion?
Right. Well, that's just an argument and a practice of, being a demagogue. Okay. The federal government, the ICE agents, from what I've read and from what I'm hearing in news reports, are targeting individuals who are not just here illegally, right? They didn't just come across the border illegally and broke a law doing that, but they're targeting criminals, hard criminals that are committing crimes. Either once they get into our country, they've committed further crimes, or they committed crimes in their country and they have a rap sheet in their country. And so they are targeting these people, and for, the plaintiffs in this case, and then the judge to basically take their language and regurgitate it in the decision, it's really just trying to tug at the heartstrings because what's actually happening is they're not just going around, the ICE agents aren't just going around picking anybody willy-nilly off the street. They're doing their homework, they're doing their research. And, this is a very serious situation. I mean, these ICE agents are putting their lives on the line. Many have been attacked, many have been harmed, and it's absolutely ridiculous. They're doing their job, they're enforcing the law. And, if there's pushback, it's completely inappropriate and it's against the law. So I think it's really just, they're blowing smoke to hide the facts and twisting the truth to hide the facts. That's not exactly what's going on.
Okay, Dante, the Trump administration argues that that judge overstepped her authority by interfering in federal immigration enforcement.
That judge is the right thing. And I'll start by saying I'm a proponent. I'm in favor of border control. We need a control of our borders. I think that's happening. I think it's a good thing. But I also think that we have to remember that we're dealing with people, right? And not just what we have is a situation, and this wasn't something just made up. There was evidence that this judge pointed out, specifically people in the Trump administration who said what their standards were, what criteria they were using. And they used things like, if you had an accent, they decided that that was probable cause. That's just wrong. You can't target people that way. We have protections in place. Everyone should be treated fairly. There is no question. If you've done your homework as an agent, you've got some kind of tip, or there's some kind of information that you have that will lead you to believe that there are undocumented people or people who should not be here, do what you need to do. But that's not what's happening all over this country. They are going to places that they think Hispanic people are. Let's just be honest. They're not targeting Russian immigrants or people from other countries in Europe. What they're doing is going places where they believe Hispanic people are, and they say, you have an accent, you speak Spanish, I'm going to detain you and figure out who you are and if you should be here or not. That's just not how we should operate, because again, we're dealing with human lives here, and we should not take that stance of having that prejudice and having that value where we look at people and say, you are more likely to be a problem than someone else, because that's what's happening. And I'm glad the judge called them out and put in that order specifically the words of the Trump administration that was outlining the criteria they were using.
Okay, Bobby Ann, did the judge act within her legal boundaries?
No, absolutely not. And this is just ridiculous. Judges are not allowed to set policy. Okay, judges don't set domestic policy. Judges don't set foreign policy. That is not the judge. That is not the purview of a judge. It is not within the constitutional command of a judge. We have separation of powers in our Constitution for a reason, so that one branch of government does not become too powerful. And in this case, and in many cases that we've seen as of late, the federal judges are giving themselves powers that they do not have. So judges can't say whether or not a policy of the federal government, the executive branch, is good or bad. That is not their job, and it is not a power that they have. So in this case, yet again, we see another federal judge thinking that they know better than a policy of the administration and the executive branch, and they're imposing their own will. It's completely, it's completely judicial overreach at its best. Not to mention the other fact that it's in violation. It is not the court's job. They don't set policy. Policy is made by the executive. I mean, so the president is supposed to just sit there and look pretty in the Oval Office. I mean, according to these judges, the president has no powers at all. They're trying to curb everything that's being done, including enforcing our immigration laws. So the judges completely overstepped here.
Okay.
Yeah, what the court is doing is saying, our job, your job, executive branch, is to set the policy. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I think part of this immigration policy is good and beneficial for this country, but you can't use discriminatory practices. And that is the job of the judicial branch, to say, this law has been created. Our job is to make sure it doesn't violate the Constitution. And when you have a policy that's happening where people say, I'm going to violate your rights and discriminate against you because you have an accent or because you speak Spanish, then it is the judicial branch's job to say that violates the Constitution. Therefore, this policy is improper and illegal, and it should not be enforced. That's what they're supposed to do.
Okay, we're running out of time here. I started with Dante, so Bobby Ann, final thoughts.
Yeah, that's not what's happening here. I mean, the head of the Department of Homeland Security is standing on, national TV, giving example after example of the people that are being detained and that they are deporting, that they are getting off our streets to make Americans safer. And these are cold, hard criminals. And if you want to hear or read some of the things that they've done, it's outrageous. It's murder, it's rape, it's assault. These things are absolutely horrendous. So, to say that the Trump administration is going around just pulling people off the street because they have an accent is not true. And we need to look at what the facts are, and we have to hear all the reports, not just the reports from one side of the story. That's just an unfair way to approach things.
All right, I'm sure we'll have similar conversations again in the future, but we'll leave it there for today. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
3 Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies are dead after an explosion at a police training center in East Los Angeles. A large response team arrived on the scene shortly after the blast. Local authorities are taking a look. Multiple employees and deputies were evacuated from the area. The circumstances surrounding the explosion remain unclear. The training center serves as a base for the bomb squad, housing all of its equipment and vehicles. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has not released any additional details. An investigation into the blast is ongoing. Attorney General Pam Bondi posted on X, quote, Our federal agents are at the scene and we're working to learn more. Please pray for the families of the sheriff's deputies killed. And soon the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department is going to hold a news conference on this. We'll bring you that live. Coming up, CBS says it's canceling The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. What the company is saying about the decision to end the popular late-night program. Stay with us.
I go by Jackie. I'm 44 years old. I had 3 kids at the time and single mother. I was working 60 hours a week. Still couldn't pay the bills. Skipped meals so that they could eat. It's been hard because one thing falls into place, 10 things fall out of place. You know, I just can't do this alone and make it work.
1 in 5 kids face hunger in America, and food costs are rising. But everyone needs nourishing food to thrive, and they can when we work together so our neighbors can feed their families. Call or go online right now to join Feeding America with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Together, thanks to a nationwide network of food banks, dedicated volunteers, and the monthly support of people like you, we can fill plates with nutritious food for kids facing hunger this summer.
One day my mother came over to my house and said, "There's a meeting at the pantry." I said, "Okay," and I went. There were some ladies in there. They were from the food bank. They asked several questions. Some of those were about me and my story, but it helped me to open up a little bit.
We're getting closer to the day when no one in America faces hunger, but we can't do it without you. Call or go online now. Visit helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. 98% of donations go directly to help millions of children facing hunger from coast to coast and in your own community. And when you give by credit card, we'll send you this exclusive canvas grocery bag to show you are a part of a movement of supporters working together to help end hunger.
I have people that I can trust. I have hope.
Please call now or make your monthly donation at helpfeedingamerica.org. Working together, we can end hunger in America.
I can't get a hold of my mom.
I'm sure it's nothing.
I've called her 5 times.
I'm sure she's fine.
Is Grandma okay? Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
Don't worry, ma'am. We're sending help right now.
Hello?
Hello, this is Life Alert. Your mother had an emergency, and we dispatched paramedics to her home.
Oh my gosh, what happened?
She had a fall, but don't worry. She is safe, and the paramedics are helping her right now.
Thank you.
Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes. With one simple touch of a button, Life Alert sends help immediately. Whether it's to report a fall, a medical emergency, or an intruder, Life Alert sends first responders fast.
For a free brochure, call 800-382-9846. 800-382-9846. That's 800-382-9846.
Now, a weather update. Forecasters say flash flooding remains a threat along the Gulf Coast into the weekend. Forecasters say storms could repeatedly hit the same areas, dumping several inches of rain. Parts of southeastern Louisiana were hit hard yesterday, with up to 9 inches of rain flooding streets and homes. In New Orleans, city buildings closed and sandbag distribution sites opened as officials braced for flooding. Earlier in the week, the storm soaked Florida's Gulf Coast with nearly a foot of rain in the Tampa area. Meanwhile, the death toll from the Texas floods has risen to at least 135 after an additional death was reported in Travis County, Texas. This new information comes from Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who held a press conference yesterday. Here are the details.
I think it's the largest flood in the history of Texas.
Nearly 2 weeks after fatal flooding struck the area July 4th, multiple search and rescue groups are still navigating through thick debris to find victims. 2 rescuers were found spotted up to their thighs in mud as others assisted searching through debris. Others are seen digging on their knees next to a pile of broken tree branches. Among the dead, at least 116 people were from the Kerrville area.
More people lost their lives in Kerrville than those who lost their lives in Hurricane Harvey.
There's people in it.
Texans still reliving the catastrophic flooding.
it's just something that was beyond belief.
Scott and Katie Fineski run an all-boys camp along the Guadalupe River. They say they successfully evacuated 18 cabins on their campgrounds when the flooding started.
We were on the high ground screaming at the counselors to get their kids in the rafters.
They knew exactly what to do. They knew how to do it. They knew the path that they were going to go.
A different outcome than that at nearby Camp Mystic, where 27 campers and counselors perished. Officials say they're looking into how to prevent losses of life in the future.
We cannot bring them back. We cannot undo that. But what we can do is learn from it.
Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is firing back at critics who have accused him of mismanaging the Fed's budget. Last week, the head of the Office of Management and Budget said Powell may have broken the law. The claim centers on whether he followed federal rules for renovating the Fed's headquarters. Yesterday, Powell said the $2.5 billion renovation and its financing have always had careful oversight from the central bank's board and its own watchdog. President Trump called the cost of the renovation disgraceful during a meeting with reporters this week. Trump said Wednesday he is not planning to fire Powell, but he kept the door open to the possibility. Powell's term is set to expire in May of next year. CBS says it's canceling the late-night show with Stephen Colbert in May of next year, ending a staple of late-night television. Colbert announced the news during yesterday's taping, telling the crowd, "This is all just going away." CBS executives say the decision was purely financial, not tied to ratings or Colbert's content. Still, the cancellation comes just days after Colbert criticized CBS's parent company Paramount for settling a Trump lawsuit tied to a 60-minute segment. Colbert's show leads its time slot and just earned another Emmy nomination this week. The U.S. Coast Guard has just offloaded more than $90 million worth of cocaine in St. Petersburg, Florida. The agency made the announcement yesterday. The drugs were seized over the course of 2 months. Their operation involved 6 vessel interceptions, including a sailing vessel, 1 fishing vessel, and 4 speedboats. In March, the Coast Guard offloaded more than $517 million worth of drugs at Florida's Port Everglades after a 3-month operation. That operation resulted in 35 alleged smugglers being detained. CEO Mark Zuckerberg, along with current and former directors of Meta, reached an agreement yesterday to close a privacy lawsuit. Shareholders accuse Facebook executives of failing to prevent massive user data breaches that cost the company billions. They said this led to scandals such as the misuse of Facebook user data by political consulting firm Cambridge Analytica. A settlement agreement was announced in Delaware's Court of Chancery yesterday. Terms of the agreement were not immediately disclosed. There won't be further courtroom proceedings. Coming up, former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro is seeking a meeting with President Trump. This after police raid his home, a mandatory ankle bracelet, and other restrictions ordered by a Brazilian court. Stay tuned.
I debate all day. It's what I do. But there are some things that are undebatable, like your mental health, my own mental health. I was in a dark place when my brother passed away in a car accident. I've never been more devastated than the day I lost my mom. I was depressed, miserable, in ways I never imagined. I reached out, and my sisters came, my pastor, my therapist. They helped me get through it. I found that the more I spoke up, the healthier my mind became. The chaos that was in me began to subside. I was more focused, clear. When you love your mind, you can go so much further. That's not up for debate. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org.
I don't remember how it started. Our back and forth. Victory. Fumble. Repeat. It always came back.
we go throw it?
Yeah.
You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Nice.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had zero chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
Ukraine wants to step up peace talks with Russia. Moscow responds saying it welcomes the idea and that the Kremlin is interested in further negotiations as well. This after President Trump accused Russia of talking about peace without actually wanting it. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky took to X today, writing, "Intensify the negotiation track. This process needs more momentum." Russia responded to Zelensky's message, calling it a positive signal. A spokesperson for the Kremlin added that Moscow also thinks the negotiations should gain momentum. Russia and Ukraine already held 2 rounds of talks in Turkey earlier this year. They agreed to exchange prisoners of war and the remains of fallen soldiers. Those agreements were fulfilled for the most part, but the 2 sides didn't set a date for a new round of talks after the negotiations in Turkey. The European Union is set to impose further sanctions on Moscow. The bloc today agreed on the 18th package of sanctions against Russia over its war in Ukraine. This includes measures aimed at the Russian oil and energy industry. The bloc's foreign policy chief calls it one of the strongest set of sanctions against Kremlin yet. The EU will set a move pricing cap on Russian crude oil at 15% below its average market price, but it's not clear how effective this will be. So far, Russia managed to sell most of its oil by circumventing previous sanctions. Renewed clashes broke out overnight between armed Druze and members of Bedouin clans in southern Syria. Plumes of smoke and military vehicles were seen on the streets of Sweda today. A ceasefire agreement halted several days of violence earlier this week, but Syrian government forces were deployed to the area again after initially withdrawing. Israel had launched airstrikes in defense of the Druze before a pause in fighting. The U.S., Turkey, and Arab nations mediated the ceasefire. President Trump called Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to address an Israeli strike on Gaza's Seoul Catholic Church. 3 people were killed and several others injured in the strike. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressed the issue yesterday. In a statement, Netanyahu said Israel deeply regrets that stray ammunition hit the church and that every innocent life lost is a tragedy. According to Israel's military, an inquiry found that shell fragments hit the church by mistake during operations. The military said the cause of the incident was under review. It also said the country did not target churches or religious sites. The Vatican said Netanyahu called Pope Leo today. During the call, the Pope renewed his appeal for a ceasefire and an end to the war in Gaza. Brazilian police raided the home and political headquarters of former President Jair Bolsonaro. A court also ordered Bolsonaro to wear an ankle bracelet and stop communications with his son, who is in exile in the U.S. Bolsonaro is now seeking the help of President Trump. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pazdar has the story.
Brazilian police on Friday raiding the home and the political headquarters of former President Jair Bolsonaro. Police acted in compliance with an order from Brazil's Supreme Court, which conservatives say is biased against Bolsonaro. The order prohibits Bolsonaro from leaving the house at night, communicating with foreign ambassadors or diplomats, or approach embassies, using social media, and contacting other individuals under investigation by the Supreme Court, including his son, Eduardo Bolsonaro. Eduardo is a Brazilian lawmaker who currently lives in the United States in exile. Former President Bolsonaro is on trial at the Supreme Court. He's accused of leading an alleged attempt to stage a coup to overturn the 2022 election. The alleged coup attempt happened on January 8, 2023. On Thursday night, President Trump sent a letter to Bolsonaro, writing, "This trial should end immediately. I am very concerned about the attacks on free speech, both in Brazil and in the United States." On Friday, Bolsonaro, whose passport has been seized, said he'd like to meet with Trump.
If I had the passport, I would ask for an audience to visit Donald Trump. If he granted it, I would ask to talk about Brazil's issues.
President Trump recently imposed 50% tariffs on imports from Brazil, citing what he called a witch hunt against Bolsonaro. On Friday, Brazilian President Lula da Silva rejected what he called unacceptable blackmail. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
Coming up, one of the UK's original Victorian lavender fields wows today's visitors. Some travel from around the world to witness the spectacular colors. We have that and more when we come back.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Hi, I'm Ty Pennington, here for Choice Home Warranty. They protect my home from expensive repairs, and they can do the same for you. No matter if it's your refrigerator, plumbing, or more than 20 other home systems and appliances, Choice Home Warranty has saved millions of homeowners a whole lot of money. For a low monthly fee, you get their nationwide network of trusted local technicians with plans that cover repairs and replacements done quickly and the right way. No more headaches searching for technicians. No more budget-breaking chaos. Just a peace of mind of having Choice Home Warranty at your service. Call Choice Home Warranty now and save big with their special offer of your first month free and free limited roof coverage. Call now.
Call Choice Home Warranty for your free personalized quote and to get your first month free. Call in the next 5 minutes, and as our special offer, you'll receive free limited roof coverage. Call now to lock in your rate and save big. Call 800-210-6422. 800-210-6422.
President Trump is now in the Oval Office, soon to sign the Genius Act. Let's take a look.
It's been, a lot of people thought it was impossible, some of the things that have been done. And of course, the great big, I added the word great, the great big beautiful bill, that was something that nobody thought possible. They thought it would be in anywhere from 7 to maybe 3, I'll go the opposite direction, but 3 to 7 different bills. And we said, let's just put it in one, because this way there's something for everyone, and there really is. There's a lot of things for everyone. And when we get the word out how great that is for every single person in this country virtually, and all they have is a soundbite, death. You know what their soundbite is? Death. Aren't they nice, death? They are the most incompetent people. They've lost their confidence. They've lost everything, if you think about it. But Jasmine Crockett is on her way. She's on her way. She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble. But I have to tell you, that was great, and this was great. And I am so tired of making phone calls at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, getting calls from our great speaker. Sir, we have 12 hard no's. I say, Mike, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. We have 12 hard no's. The good news is I call up, hello, Jim, how are you? Sir, you have my vote. Boom. Sir, you have my vote. I really they just want a little love. Unfortunately, it's always the same. It's always the same 12 people. That's it. It's 5 senators and it's 12 congressmen. And I actually said to John Thune and I said to Mike, I said, listen, I want to have a party, but not to those people that I have to speak to endlessly every time. And they're wonderful because they always seem to come through, other than a couple. Rand Paul Jr. from the Congress and Rand Paul from, other than a few people. But I said, I want to have them over. We're going to have a party for everybody in Congress, everyone in Congress except 12. We're going to have, and Mike is, Tom, I'll tell you what, Tom is definitely coming. The whole group, where are those 12 people? They're the only people I don't see. We could do it today. We don't have to vote. And I would say of the 53 senators, 48, we're going to have 48 in here. You won't even have to come to that one. But these are the greatest people because they always vote yes, and we don't have to go crazy. You trust us, we trust you. And it's been a very special group of people. We really do. I mean, 96% phenomenal and 4% extremely difficult. Do you agree with that? But they get there, most of them, not all of them. Those are the ones we really don't like. But I want to thank you all for being here. This is really a big day. This afternoon, we take a giant step to cement American dominance of global finance and crypto technology as we sign the landmark Genius Act into law. So congratulations to everybody. This is a big deal. You've come a long way since the Biden administration, when they had no idea what you were all talking about, and half of you were under arrest for no reason whatsoever. True, for no reason. And we want to have it, not China. China wasn't actually happy. They were watching this. They like it, and we've got this. We've got AI. We've got a lot of great ones happening, and this is a very big thing. And I want to thank the bill's author, Senator Bill Hagerty, a very good friend of mine. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. He's a very handsome guy. Looks great. He's got the whole package. But, you know, I got to know him. He was ambassador to Japan, and we had a little problem with Japan on trade. But he was my ambassador to Japan, and I went to Japan, and he is speaking fluently Japanese. I said, did you learn it as a child? No, I just learned it over the last 4 or 5 months. I said, you learned Japanese. Maybe the single hardest language to learn. It's actually breathing rather than, it's breathing. I'm not going to imitate it because we'll end up with a big story, and I don't want that. But he spoke totally fluent Japanese. I said, that's very impressive. And he was introducing me to Mr. Honda. I said, oh, are you in the car business? He goes, yes. I said, you're a very rich man. And then he said, Mr. Toyota, right? Toyota. And I said, what business are you in? Let me guess. He said, cars. He was my interpreter. And I was so impressed. And I was getting ready to leave. He said, sir, I'd like to run for the United States Senate. I said, where are you from? He said, Tennessee. I said, well, I love Tennessee, but do they know you there? No, but if you endorse me, I'll win, right? And I endorsed him, and he took a 48-point lead. and they didn't know who the hell he was. And he's turned out to be a great senator. And now they all know who you are. Yeah, so you're fantastic, and we thank you. And just the fact that you're doing this and you understand this is a complicated world, and you understand it, Bill. So you've been great. Thank you very much. We're also pleased to be joined by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. J.D., thank you very much. Good job. And he's been up speaking late at night on the phone. I said, J.D., how about you take 3 or 4 of these people, please? Because 3 or 4 I cannot speak to. I just can't. And he'd take them and he'd come through, right, J.D.? Also, Speaker Mike Johnson. He is unbelievable. He's an unbelievable... I mean, if you go by what we're doing, if you keep at this pace, you can't keep it up for another 200 days. But I will tell you this, if you keep up this pace for another week, you go down as the greatest speaker in the House in history. So one more week. One more week. Who needs Tip O'Neill? Who needs Tip O'Neill? He's better looking than Tip O'Neill, too. But no, he's been going at a fervent pace. Would you say that's right? Your wife probably says, you are crazy. You've been aging beautifully at front. He's an amazing speaker, a great leader, and everybody likes him and respects him. And that's why we're with a very small majority, like 3. We had a time when we were 1. Remember? We said we're 1 heart attack away from losing the House. Then we won a couple of seats and a couple of other. Now we have 7, maybe if we're lucky, 7. But we win with, nobody's ever done, I don't think anyone's ever done this before, to win with those small. We had a little help from Tom, too, right, and a lot of other people. I want to introduce also Secretary Howard Lutnick, who's been fantastic. You have done a great job, Howard. We've got trade deals coming out of our ears, right? We got so many trade deals. They're all calling so many, and I really mean this, too. It's like, how do you deal with so many? But, I always say when we send out the paper, that was a deal. They don't want the fake news doesn't want to hear that. When I send out the paper that you're paying 35 or 40% tariff, that's a deal. Then they'll call and see if they can make a little bit different kind of a deal, like opening up their country to trade. In some cases, they've never been opened. But we're doing well, and we have a couple of big ones to announce pretty soon, right? Could almost do it today. Maybe we'll say it. Maybe later on we'll do it. Senator Bernie Moreno, a great victory. Bernie had great victory. A great victory. That was one of the truly tough races. A lot of people weren't sure anybody could win that seat, and you won it in easy fashion, right? We won it together when you think of it. But you won it in easy fashion. You did a great job. Great guy. House Majority Whip. This is a great leader, Tom Emmer, a great politician and leader. Really good. And I like his wife even better. His wife is, she's the boss, but you are married to a fantastic woman, huh? And he knows that, and he likes hearing it, because some people don't, they say, sir, could you please stop saying that my wife is better than me, sir? Those are guys that don't usually end up with a good marriage, He's got a great marriage. So thank you, Tom. You really are a fantastic leader and representative. And Representatives Troy Downing, French Hill. Where's French Hill? Where is French? You have been so great. Thank you, French. I spoke to him a little late. He was walking down the hall. I said, French. He said, I'm there, sir. You are great, great, great guy. Everyone respects you, French. You know that. Bill Heisinger. Bill, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good job. Dan Muser. I thought he was going to become the next governor of Pennsylvania, but he likes Congress better, I guess, huh? So, but I think you're terrific, and, I would have always been behind you. That I can tell you. Tim Moore. Tim, thank you, Tim. John Rose. John? Hi, John, thanks. Good job. Brian Stile. Brian Stile. Still young. Still nice and young. That's good. G.T. Thompson. G.T. Thank you. Andy Barr, good friend of all of ours. Thank you, Andy. Monica de la Cruz. Monica, she's here someplace. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Monica. Mike Haradopoulos. Mike, thank you, Mike. Look good. Mike Lawler, Mr. Salt. Well, it should guarantee your district. I mean, you worked hard for New York, right? And you're on television, I'm on television, so this should be good for a couple of points. But without you and your couple of friends from New York, that wouldn't have happened. That was not easy, right? Congratulations. Great job. Anna Paulina Luna. Anna, who is so great. I don't, even if she's here or not here, I want to tell you that she has been so great and worked so hard to make sure we got it approved. Ralph Norman. Ralph? Ralph? What happened to Ralph? Nick Begich. Nick, thank you, Nick. Good job. Good job. Good votes. I just saw a great poll on you, huh? Very good. Congratulations, Nick. Andy Ogles. Andy, who's a terrific friend. Beth Van Dyne. Beth, thank you, Beth. Great job. Thank you. Thank you very much for the great support. Roger Williams, a great baseball player, who also had to take a bullet, unfortunately, but he is a great guy. He was involved in that whole catastrophe, but he's fantastic and has been from day one, along with a lot of other people that I won't call out because I have no idea where the hell you are. I think I saw Jason here somewhere. Where's Jason? Oh, it's lucky I called him. Ooh, it's lucky. They didn't put your name because I invited you at the last moment, right? He was over there doing some business in the White House. But you've been incredible in your position. Nobody knows more about taxes and finance than you do, so we appreciate it, right? Is that true, Howard? It's true. Thanks, Jason. Great job. And you'll help out with that other matter. You make him so strong and powerful, right? Along with Deputy Secretary of Treasury, Michael Faulkender. Where's Michael? Good, Michael. How are you? Good. You'll help out over there, okay? And Ambassador Ken Howry. Ambassador? Thank you, Ken. Great job, Ken. I also want to recognize some of the countless industry leaders here today, including Brian Armstrong of Coinbase. You've done a good job, Brian. That's a big deal. Dave Ripley of Kraken. Dave. Thank you, Dave. Jeremy Allaire of Circle. This is a big day. Good job. Good job, Jeremy. Paolo Ardino of Tether. Paolo, thank you, Paolo. Ryan McInerney of Visa. That's a good company. Thank you. Chris Pavlovsky of Rumble. Chris, what happened to your location, Chris? You're always a front row guy. You're just being nice today, I think. How's Rumble doing? Good? Good. If Rumble's doing good, that means Truth is doing good. Truth. That's good. You're doing a great job. Thank you, Chris, very much. Vlad Tenev of Robinhood. Vlad, thank you, Vlad. Thank you, Vlad. Good. Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss. These are two smart, handsome guys. They got the whole package. They're of Gemini, but they have the whole pack. They're of a lot of things, actually, but Gemini's just the one for today, right? They've got the whole, they've got the look, they've got the genius, got plenty of cash, and it's great that you're on our side. You guys are great. I can never tell them apart, but their mother can. I asked, can your mother tell you apart? And the answer is yes, right? Easily, or is it tough for her? Easy, I figure. Good. You guys have been great. Thank you very much. It's great to be with you. Let me say the entire crypto community, for years, you were mocked and dismissed and counted out. You were counted out as little as a year and a half ago. But this signing is a massive validation. And even before this signing, over the last year and a half, I think your stuff has gone up more than any stock, or just about more. A couple of stocks that were pretty good, I will say. But you have certainly, as an industry, gone up more than anybody. Nobody's gained the respect in such a short period of time. But this signing is a massive validation of your hard work and your pioneering spirit and your ability to never give up, because a lot of people would have given up 2-3 years ago. So I want to thank you for contributing to the incredible strength of America. This is going to make it stronger, and congratulations on this incredible achievement. You've made our dollar look really good and strong and powerful. It's good for the dollar, and it's good for the country. And that's why I backed you at an early stage, and I also did it for the votes, because you did come out and vote, I will tell you. And they changed tune, you know, Biden's team, they changed tune right in the middle of the campaign. All of a sudden, they loved you guys. They dropped all charges. They did have, I got you guys out of so much trouble. And you know what? I don't think anybody voted for them, right? Because you remember they treated you very unfairly, actually. So it's a great honor that we were involved. And it was a tremendous amount of support that we got at the polls. We won. Think of it, we won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won the popular vote. We won the districts by 2,750. Think of that, to 505. Different districts, too, by the way. Every once in a while, that number can change, but it doesn't change by much. The map was almost totally red, and you guys were with us right from the beginning. Exactly 1 year ago this month, many of you were with me in Nashville, Tennessee. Do you remember that day, right? That was a big day, Nashville, Tennessee, when I became the first presidential candidate ever to address the Bitcoin conference. And at this time and at that time, crypto builders and founders were under relentless assault by the Biden administration, which was trying to crush your industry and crush you as people and go after your families. And they were a vicious group of people. You know, people don't realize it. They were vicious, incompetent, but vicious. Well, Joe was an incompetent guy, but he was always known as a vicious guy. I guess if you're going to be in that, you're probably off. If they're incompetent is better, right? Because you don't want to have a vicious guy that's competent. If you did, I wouldn't be standing here today, right? But I pledged that we would bring back American liberty and leadership and make the United States the crypto capital of the world, and that's what we've done. And under the Trump administration, this is only going further. You're going to do really well. I mean, I'm so proud of what you've done in the last couple of years. And very important, on day one, I remember I did this and I said this and I mentioned this name, and I got the greatest applause of the whole campaign. We fired Joe Biden's SEC chair, Gary Gensler. We fired him. But I remember I was making a speech, and, you know, it was just a line in a speech. And I said, and I will fire Gary Gensler. The place exploded. I said, I finished like one, and I said, what the hell did that guy do? There was a lot of hatred there, I'll tell you. And it turned out, as I got familiar with everything, it turned out you were absolutely right. In his place, I appointed a visionary chairman who wants America to build the future and not block the future. He's going to be unbelievable. He'll go down as one of the greats. And Paul Atkins, where are you, Paul Atkins? And you know, Paul, the crypto guys, they said, everybody said, not only crypto, every industry, they all wanted Paul for the position. And he's a tough cookie, too. He's just, but they actually said, we don't care. We just think he's fair. All they wanted was fairness. And they have somebody that you're really a champion of the street and you're a champion of the country. You're going to do a fantastic job. I saw you interviewed the other night. I watched it about 2 o'clock in the morning. There was a little thing called C-SPAN, which I don't know how many people were watching. Don't worry, you were on primetime, too, but they happen to have a little rerun. I don't want to embarrass you. But fantastic job, really. You are absolutely so perfect for the job. Congratulations, Paul. And Paul is here today among the commissioners, various commissioners, including Hester Pierce and Mark Yoida. Hester and Mark Yoida. Thank you, Hester. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mark, wherever you may be. Is Mark here? Oh, stand up, Mark. I didn't... Good. Thank you. Good job. Good. I'm glad I gave you a second crack you didn't hear because of the thunderous applause for Hester. But thank you. I heard tremendous things about both of you. Thank you very much. My first week in office, I also established the first ever presidential working group on digital assets, and we have an executive director. Where's Bo Hines? Bo Hines. Hi, Bo. And Bo was a great football player, right? Bo was a great football player, one of the better players in college football, so I know you from that also. See, who would think that I know that? I know a lot of things, Bo, but he was a champion player. I stopped the weaponization of government against crypto and Bitcoin, and we ended the lawless Operation Choke Point 2.0. That was a bad operation. And I kept my promises to the community and granted a full presidential pardon to Ross Ulbricht. Ross Ulbricht. And you have no idea how important that name became. It was like a symbol, and his mother was unbelievable. His mother was an unbelievable woman, but it was so important to a certain group of people. And in the truly momentous act last March, I signed an executive order establishing the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, as well as the United States Digital Asset Stockpile, and that's all signed up. And with today's signing, we're pushing even further into the exciting new frontier. Just as I promised last year, the Genius Act creates a clear and simple regulatory framework to establish and unleash the immense promise of dollar-backed stable coins. This could be perhaps the greatest revolution in financial technology since the birth of the internet itself. A lot of people are saying that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yes? If you say yes, I'm saying yes. I think it's great that you're involved, I will tell you. Many Americans are unaware that behind the scenes, the technical backbone of the financial system is decades out of date, many, many years out of date. You know that. Paul and others are straightening it out, but payments and money transfers are costly and take days or even weeks to clear. Under this bill, the entire ancient system will be eligible for a 21st century upgrade using the state-of-the-art crypto technology. Who would have thought we would have been saying that 2 years after I really met you for the first time? The Genius Act provides banks, businesses, and financial institutions a framework for issuing crypto assets backed one-for-one with real U.S. dollars, treasury bills, and other cash equivalents. It's really strengthening the dollar and giving the dollar great prominence. And, you know, you have this little group called BRICS. It's fading out fast. But BRICS is, they wanted to try and take over the dollar, the dominance of the dollar, and the standard of the dollar. And I said, anybody that's in the BRICS consortium of nations, we're going to tariff you 10%. And they had a meeting the following day, and almost nobody showed up. They said, leave me alone. We didn't want to, they didn't want to be tariffed, did they, Howard? Huh? So it's amazing. No, we're not going to let the dollar slide. If we have a smart president, you're never going to let the dollar slide. If you have a dummy, that could happen. Like the last one, he would, if you ever asked him about the dollar sliding, he would have no idea. But we can't let that ever happen again. Consumers, vendors, and people all over the world will then be able to use those stable coins for ultra-low-cost transactions that are cleared and settled in a matter of seconds rather than weeks and months. And it's really an amazing thing. And with the privacy, flexibility, and decentralization of cash, this revolution has the potential to supercharge American economic growth and empower billions of people to save and transfer in U.S. dollars. It's really all backed by the dollars. It's really a great thing. And a lot of, you know, we had a lot of Democrat support. I have to tell you that. I was shocked anytime you get one but we had a tremendous amount of Democrat support, which we appreciate, and which just shows you that you're doing the right thing. This will increase demand for U.S. Treasuries, lower interest rates, and secure the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency for generations to come. The reserve currency is so important. You know, if we lost that, that would be like losing a world war. We can never let anyone play games with us, and that's why when I heard about this group from BRICS, 6 countries basically, I hit them very, very hard. And if they ever really form in a meaningful way, it will end very quickly, I will tell you, for them. They won't be gone very long. I don't think they'll even do it. They're virtually afraid to meet. I also remain fully committed to my pledge never to allow the creation of a central bank digital currency in America. It won't happen. My first... Thank you. And the other night, I will say, with some of the congressmen and women, they wanted that so badly. That was so important to them. I was impressed that they knew what the hell it was, to be honest with you. Please, sir, please, the central bank digital currency, well, you have to make sure, sir. And I'm saying, what do you know about that? It's amazing the knowledge that people have gained all of a sudden. We had a lot of problems with some of them. I said, we've already got it from the Fed, right, from Commerce, and from an executive order. You don't need it a fourth time. Sir, we have to get it. It's amazing. But they knew their subject, though, didn't they, huh? And we helped them out. My first week in office, I signed an executive order to ban the creation of a CBDC in the United States, and very soon I look forward to signing legislation that will codify and ban make it a permanent law, put it in permanence. I'm also committed to signing landmark crypto market structure legislation this year to grow the industry. We're going to be growing it even more than people ever thought. It's a really hot industry. And for a little while, 2 nights ago, we were a little concerned because we were a little short on votes. I would say maybe we were about 9 short. 9 short at 3 in the morning. We were about 4 short at 3:30 in the morning. And we were in good shape at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? But the people, and few people, have fought harder for the bill than we're signing than some of the people here today. You have been unbelievable. It's our White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs, who's done such a great job. And he has a show now. I've become a showman, but a couple of years ago, right? It's probably 2 years ago now in San Francisco, and I did his show, and I heard he's a very smart guy, and we had a great show. You kept it going a lot longer, and is that still your highest rated ever show? Oh, he knows what to say. He knows what. He had a rating that he had millions and millions of people. He said, what's going on? But we had a great show, and I said, that guy's really smart. I said, if I get elected, I was running at that time, if I get elected, we're going to bring him into government in some ways. He's worth a fortune. He's made a lot of money. He's a very rich billionaire. But this is more important, isn't it? This is me too. It's like, doesn't matter. This is much. I know Howard and I talk about it all the time. Howard could go back to his wonderful brokerage firm, hire 1 or 2 people, and it's not the same as. It's not the same as what you're doing, right? We're doing the biggest deals in the world. Actually, the deal we're doing now in tariffs is the biggest, when you add it up, the biggest deal ever made in history. It could be 1,000 IBMs. I mean, if you think of it, it's the biggest deal ever done. So it's hard to go back to a brokerage firm and, make $79,000 commission on the sale of a stock, right? It's true. But I want to ask David. So David's been fantastic. He's done an incredible job. And I'd like to ask David to come up, say a few words. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you, President Trump. It's a great honor to be here. And it's true that I never expected to work in government at all. And then everything changed after President Trump came on my podcast. And I accepted this job as crypto czar because I thought it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work for a president who really wants to get things done for the American people. And if anything, that's been an understatement. The first 6 months of this administration have been more successful than any administration in American history. What's been done? It's just been incredible. President Trump has worked at tech speed. We're used to working fast in Silicon Valley, but even this is fast for us in Silicon Valley, the speed at which you move, President Trump. It's really incredible. And now today, you have another historic legislative achievement that is a monumental step to fulfilling your promise to making the United States the crypto capital of the world. This Genius Act will unlock American dominance in the crypto industry by creating clear rules of the road. It will update archaic payment rails with a revolutionary new payment system, And it will extend U.S. dollar dominance, like you said, globally, by creating a digital dollar that people all over the world can use. And for every digital dollar in a crypto wallet, there'll be a traditional dollar in a U.S. bank account, which will create trillions of dollars of demand for U.S. Treasuries. So that is the power of this bill, is U.S. dollar dominance. This is a huge promise made and promise kept by President Trump. And there's just a few other people I'd like to thank. First, my family for being here. Thank you. And Bo Hines, who President Trump mentions, the director of our crypto council, he really did the heavy lifting here. So, Bo, I just want to thank you again. And my chief of staff, Tracy Johnson, as well, who also does the heavy lifting. And Bill Haggerty and French Hill and all the congressmen and senators who have already been mentioned by President Trump, so I'll save the time, but it was really been an honor to work with all of you. This was really a team effort, but most of all, I want to thank President Trump for accomplishing what nobody thought was possible, and it's true that just earlier this week, the media was reporting that this bill was dead. This bill was dead, and then the media didn't know one thing, that we had a secret weapon. We have a deal maker in chief. And thanks to President Trump, he stepped in and saved this bill. And it's because of your vision, your leadership, your determination, your skill that we're all here today. So thank you very much, President Trump. Thank you.
Is that Laura? Please come. Just come here. This is our superstar. She was the head of the Republican Party, and nobody complained about anything. We went on to great. This is Laura Trump, married to a young gentleman named Eric. They have beautiful 2 children, but she has been so good. She stepped into that position like it was nothing that we won, and she said, Dad, I'd like to go home right now to my beautiful husband and my son and daughter, right? But you did a fantastic job, and you worked with a great gentleman, too. He's doing a fantastic job. But I just want to thank you. I just saw you standing back there. I wanted to bring her in. Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you. So under the Trump administration, I mean, I just got back from Saudi Arabia, and we went to Qatar. We went to a number of countries, and I will tell you the level of respect that this country has now is incredible. The UAE, I tell you what, we had a time there, but every leader said the same thing. They said 1 year ago, your country was dead. And they'd say it that way. It was like, you know, I didn't know whether I was supposed to be happy or insulted, but the truth is we were in deep trouble. But they said 1 year ago, your country was dead, and today you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And it's true. We have the hottest country in the world. We had a country, we were a laughingstock with the borders, people pouring in. Can you imagine last month, in the month of June, actually, 0. Now, I don't even believe that, 0, because you have hundreds of thousands pouring in, and then all of a sudden it's 0. But they have it down as 0. And very liberal people take that particular toll. It's a liberal group, so they're not giving us any favors. It's 0 people coming through our border. Can you imagine that? From literally hundreds of thousands and millions pouring in from all over the world. They came from all over the world. They came from prisons, jails. They came from mental institutions, gang members. There were gangs. They came from all over the place, from every country. They came from the Congo in Africa, a lot from the Congo. They came from South America. A lot of came from Venezuela. They emptied their jails into our country. Can you imagine? They allowed that, emptied their jails into our country, and they let them walk right into our country like perfect. 11,888 committed murder. 50% committed more than one person. They murdered more than one person. 50% of 11,888. And we had murderers, and we're getting them out, and Tom Homan and Christie are doing a great job. That Tom Homan, I'll tell you, is he central casting or what? And he takes abuse, but they just keep fighting, and they're winning, and we're winning in the courts, and we're winning everywhere. But we've got the hottest country in the world, and you're a big part of it. So the golden age of America is upon us, and with today's signing, the future of crypto and the crypto industry, the U.S. dollar working together, because they really are hand in hand. is going to be stronger and bigger and better than ever before. And I just want to thank everybody, some tremendous people in this room. And maybe when I sign, I'll ask some of our great senators and congressmen to come on up. Some of the top crypto guys, please come on up because you guys worked very hard on this. And we'll sign this and we'll get on to the next battle and we'll win. But we're winning all over the world right now. It's not even close, not even close. And we're going to keep it going. Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you.
When?
Down.
Sir.
You got it?
Thank you so much.
This is not an auto pen, by the way. Which is a big scandal. If that were a Republican, it would really be a big scandal. But it is one of the great scandals of our time. Thank you very much, everybody.
The Genius Act. Trump says it's going to make America stronger and be beneficial to the U.S. dollar. The bill creates a regulatory framework for stablecoins and will help speed up consumer transactions. Trump also said he'll never allow a central bank digital currency to be created in the U.S. Coming up, an explosion kills 3 Los Angeles County Sheriff deputies. Local authorities provide more details following the blast. Stay with us.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-624-6556 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-624-6556. 1-800-624-6556. Call now.
All throughout your home, appliances and systems just wait for the worst time to break down and leave you with expensive repairs. Unless you have a plan from Choice Home Warranty.
All home appliances and systems have a breakdown clock, and when it expires, it will cost hundreds and potentially even thousands.